everybody. Welcome back to the Nerdy Neighborhood and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I'm your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood Bi, and tonight I am joined by comic creator Anthony Stokes at Stokes the Writer on Twitter. We're going to talk about a book coming out from him very soon called Intrusive Thoughts. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing phenomenal. I'm exhausted. I don't know why I lied. I got a campaign coming up. I'm tired, but I'm here. I'm doing what I have to do.
I think, sometimes faking till you make it's not only to try to pass it to the other people, but it's try to pass it to ourselves. Like, if I say I'm good, that means I'm okay, right?
yeah. I'm going to pass out after this interview, but, otherwise I'm doing phenomenal.
Yep. I got laundry and a million other adult things I don't want to do.
Yeah. Me too. So, me too.
Well, that's what's nice about these, though, is that it kind of forces me to have to slow down my other adult stuff and just enjoy talking with you and the other creators I get to talk to about comics, like my favorite thing in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I like I'm like, my campaign's next week, but I'm not quite in campaign mode yet. That's why I was late for this interview, full disclosure. So I need to this is a good wake up call. Like, it's like a shock that I need to wake myself up from,
Yeah, no. And I love that you bring that up because I think a lot of people, a lot of fans and consumers don't understand how intense campaign mode is and how long it lasts, how early it starts, how much later after the campaign is quote done it lasts. Like,
yeah,
how are you feeling being in it again? Because I know you've already, I've spoken with you at least before, I think for the Wednesday Pull List, regarding your book Decay, which is fantastic. So I'm kind of interested to hear what's different with this campaign for you versus those campaigns.
I think I have like a much better understanding. Like when you're doing something for the first time, it's like everything is infinitely harder than you would think. And then the flip side is that you get overconfident and then you make things harder. At this point, I figured out enough of the process. And I think one thing I figured out is resealable, the bagging boards.
Yeah.
I usually do the tape and I prefer the tape. I 100% prefer the tape, but you just throw it in and throw the bag in and just zip. It's amazing. So that's cut so much time. And it's like my last campaign was in November. So it's almost like I didn't stop. So I'm just powering through basically.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And honestly, I'm the same way. Like, I really don't care for the resealable bags on comics, but in purposes of a campaign, it makes total sense to do that because just that little extra couple seconds of taping and all that saves you so much time in the long run, and it still gets the product safely to us as the fans. And if we want to put it in a new taped bag and board because that makes us feel better, we can do that. So you're not compromising the safety of the comics to get to us, which I think is great because that's a problem I see so often in campaigns for Kickstarters or Zoops or Indiegogos, whatever, is, they end up to save time, kind of like you're saying with this, they use other methods that unfortunately compromise the integrity of the comic when it gets to you.
Yeah. And then you get that's you're playing a dangerous game at that point. You don't want to see those. The last thing you want to see is somebody you send somebody a package and they got it and they tweet out like, oh, you shouldn't do this. Like, that's the last thing you want. But yeah, it's little things you learn and little tricks that you can learn to make the process more efficient. But I'm actually taking a really big break after this campaign. Because like a 2.5 week break from like working in the comics because it's a lot. It's really it's a lot. So that's what I'm gonna power through and I'm gonna take a break. I'm just decompressing after this. So that's the secret.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you absolutely deserve it. You've been working your butt off since I've known you. Just always going, and you're very active on Twitter talking about how, you're always trying to get better, and you want to get better by learning from your own mistakes, but also by talking to other creators and seeing what they do. And you host these great Twitter spaces quite often, and you're a part of a lot of Twitter spaces. So I just love how community oriented you are as well. You don't shell yourself away in a corner and like it's very easy to do that, especially with getting overwhelmed, but you're still so open with everybody and you want to remain that way. It seems like as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just like talking to people. Right. And I talk about like, I've made plenty of posts about marketing and stuff like that, but it's like, it's like, that's like the Achilles heel, I feel like, for the community. It's like, if you make it fun, then you have nothing to worry about. And so for me, interacting with people and doing all that stuff is fun. Like the interview like this is fun. Like a Twitter space is fun. And, it's just trying to make it as least laborious as possible. And then, and then I was talking to somebody about like the community and they were like, their experience with the community was very, they're like, oh, the indie comic community, but we kind of built our own through Twitter Spaces, with my boy, Chris Moses, and Nas is in there. I know you had him on. Shout out to Nas and Keeping It Geekly, all those guys.
Yeah,
we're a big part of that culture. So it's to me, it doesn't even feel like community building, to be honest. It really feels like I'm just talking with my friends and getting infinitely better.
Yeah, I love that. I think, we talk about, and I mean, even in my own like work outside of this, like the job I get paid for, like it's often talked about like community building and team building and stuff. But like you just said, like when it's just talking to your friends, it feels a lot more effortless. And I think for me as well, in that aspect, it feels more genuine and more helpful.
Yeah.
It makes the craft make more sense, and you make more progress than trying to force team building or being like, yeah, I build community. It's like, nah, man, I'm just here with my buddies. Like, what? Like, yeah, we talk shop, but it's not really shop to us.
Yeah, no, and I've gotten so much better, like as a result. Shout out to Richard Fairgray, who recently claimed me as his mentor. He's been helping me out. Most of the times I didn't ask for his advice, but he gives me the advice, and it's been, I'm curious. Well, I mean, I guess this is a good segue because Decay was my first ever comic book. You read issue 2. It was as far as you could have read.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you think, because all I wanted to do for Intrusive Thoughts was like, I just wanted to just almost like a timestamp where I was at, like in after a year of being in indie comics and making comics. I wanted to here's where I was at. So I was curious, do you think there's improvements or anything like that?
Yeah, no, it's always fun when I get asked questions, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing everything, so I don't have to be put in a hot seat ever. But no, in all honesty, I mean, even just from the first issue to the second issue of Decay, you had so much growth. And with Intrusive Thoughts, I'll pull it up since we're kind of back on the subject of it. But it's I want to say it's a tonal change, but it really isn't. But it feels like your storytelling and the way you map out the panels for DNS to illustrate for you, and the format and the arrangement of them, it makes so much more sense as a reader to read them. And I think you've done such a great job of that. Like, I was very excited reading this because I really, compared to Decay issue 1 and the second issue of Decay and now this issue, I really feel like, wow, I feel so much more immersed. Like, I feel like I don't have to think as hard about what's going on and try to connect things. It just connects quicker.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, the visual, understanding the medium of comics, and it's interesting because you think about like a movie or a TV show, you have so much different stuff. You have audio, you have moving pictures and all that stuff. With comics, you just have pictures essentially. So it's a restrictive medium by definition. So understanding my understanding with the medium was a little bit frigid. I didn't even have onomatopoeias in the in Decay issue 1. I don't know if it was a conscious choice. I was trying to save money on letter. I have no idea. But no, and it was just, I had such a rigid understanding of the medium, and now my understanding of the medium has gotten a lot richer, and it's still not what I wanted to be at. It's not even close, but I feel like it got closer. And a lot of that is, again, talking to people, specifically Richard, who was the editor on this one. Have you met Richard Fairgray?
I don't believe I have.
Oh, we got it. Yeah, we got to.
He sounds great, though. All these great things are making me like, man, I need to get him over here.
He is tremendous. He's a great dude. You would love him. He's hilarious. But he has just an encyclopedic knowledge. There aren't a lot of people that I know that are as good as something as Richard is at comics, and so it just rubs off when I have other creators, and it's just this trying to just, like you said, get better. And I feel like this was a very good, like I said, I feel like it's timestamp, and I feel like I could even do better now. And that's also a cool thing. I made this in August of 2022. So it's even from there to then, from there to now, I feel like I can improve on it and stuff. So that's also exciting.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I love hearing that because, I feel like nothing is worse than going into any craft, but especially comics, and thinking you understand everything about it, or, exactly what you're doing. Because I feel like, especially with comics, the second you think you know everything you're doing and you know how it all works, you're going to get at least three different things thrown at you that say, no, absolutely not. That doesn't work here.
Yeah.
So I think that's what, makes you such a wonderful creator, not only just in your craft and reading your work, but just talking to as well, like we are now. Um, and I mean, even from the cover, like this cover and the concept behind it, I absolutely adore this. I love the covers for Decay. I think they're also wonderfully laid out. They're so beautifully illustrated. But there's something about this that I really feel like there was a little something else behind it for you. And maybe I'm wrong, but
No, this is cool because I like to give the art. I mean, it's a give and take, right? Sometimes the artist, you can say this the artist's work. I mean, it's obviously always the artist's work, but like, okay, this was more of my idea. There's always going to be a spectrum, and this was really like my concept. DNS did an amazing job. He like, so the idea, it's a metaphor, and then once you kind of read the story, it's a very obvious metaphor. I feel like, but that was the whole thing for Intrusive Thoughts, is I just want to think metaphorically, like Decay, and I do love Decay, but Decay was designed like a first series. It's supposed to be something that was like rougher. I like almost like a mixtape, that's what I like. If you look into like a mixtape or a grunge mixtape or a rap mixtape, where it's kind of rough around the edges and it adds the aesthetic. And I was like, okay, now that was very literal. Everything that was happening was literal. It was literally happening. And this, I wanted something that was super metaphorical.
yeah.
And then like, I didn't mean to do like a Sandman thing, but like, that's the comparisons I get. And it's just like, oh my God. I feel like I nailed it. I feel like we nailed it whenever I hear the Sandman comparisons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot of elements that are so closely related. I can't speak. They're closely related to Sandman and can connect in such a way. It also reminded me of like a similar tone and possibly message to Howled North, which is another indie comic series that I adore, that has to do with mental health and battling those literal, demons and monsters at that point, actually personifying them as literal as possible. Yeah, like so when I read this, I was like, oh, perfect. This is right in my wheelhouse because I eat that shit up. Like it's too relatable.
Yeah, it's and that's one thing. It's like there's so many indie comics, and I just like, oh my goodness. Like it's great. It's a beautiful thing, but it's like, damn, I'd like to be able to read all these, but it's
right. No,
I do market research, so I really try, but it's also like super exhausting. Like I said, I'm beat.
No, 100%. I mean, how do you think I feel? Like I can talk to so many creators like you and all that, and I still feel like I don't know enough, and I still feel like I don't get to buy every single indie comic or support every single one that is so wonderful to support out there, because that's both kind of a gift and a curse. I feel like with comics right now is that there are so many great indie comics and so many great creators out there. There's no shortage for sure.
Nah, yeah, they're killing it, and you're seeing people do what I really like. What I'm really starting to appreciate is that you have like, I'm trying to look for this. People are doing like really interesting things with the medium, and that's what I really, really, really appreciate. And I hope that's what this is, and you have the genre bending stuff, you have like the heavier stuff like this. It just the top of the best of the best of any comics is can go up against any medium. I truly believe that,
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I could not agree more. And so with Intrusive Thoughts, it focuses on the main character, Tyler, who is a high school student. And to kind of paraphrase the principal in the story, he was just kind of dealt a bad hand. He's got not the best deck of cards. He's doing his damn best, but he's got these flashbacks that get him these nightmares and all these things. And all of a sudden it gets a little too real too quickly. It kind of seems like, where did this story come from? I mean, because I know with Decay, it was very kind of like you said, very much like a mixtape, but it's very raw, very dark. And this is still pretty raw and dark in its own right, but you also take it a step further, I feel like.
You know what? I can tell you the thought process. I can't, because I'm doing the press tour. I'm like, they're like, people are like, where do you get the idea? And I'm like, oh my God, where did I get the idea? I can't really. I'm trying to make this fast. Okay, I'm going to tell you the process, like the creator process, as opposed to like the production. Yeah. So what happened is that when Decay dropped, like I said, it was a rough. It's rough, like, and by design, frankly. and it wasn't getting the attention from publishers that I wanted. You know, I wanted the validation of being signed to a publisher.
Sure.
I sent the image. Why not? So I wasn't getting the reception. So I was like, okay, I want to make something that has like more appeal for a publisher. My goal was to make something that was so good it'd be undeniable by a publisher. And so I was reaching for the stars, and I feel like that was so much of the thought of just trying to push it and just trying to do something that was like really super unique. As far as the story, I think I really couldn't tell you. I had an idea when I was like in middle school or like late, like high school, that was like somebody's being followed by like a monster as like a metaphor for depression. And this is like 14, 15 years ago. It also shows you what type of things I was thinking about at high school. And that might have been an extension of this. This might have been an extension of that, to be honest. And then, but really, I think I just wanted to, just the idea, it's a pretty simple premise, but you get to add so much stuff on top of it. And I think that's the appeal for me. I didn't exactly answer your question, but hopefully there's some good nuggets in there.
No, absolutely. And I never like to cut people short when they talk about the creative process, because that's the whole point about asking. Like, I know it's a long, convoluted process, and it's probably not in chronological order, and you start here, you go back. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense that you're trying to, not only tell the story you want to tell, but also appeal to people. And I think that's very honest and forthcoming you say, because I think a lot of people want to, maybe do feel this way as well, but they're like, I don't care what people think. I just want to tell the story I want to tell. And unfortunately, that's not always realistic. Like, if you want a book to get attention to a publisher and sell well and all this stuff, it has to appeal to people. Other people have to get something out of it as well. And I really like all the elements you have here, especially with the flashback panels and the different colorings that DNS uses. I think that was, I'm not sure how much of those ideas were yours or his with the different color shadings and such, but absolute genius. I really think that this is such a great step in the direction of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, so I wrote it with DNS in mind as well, so that helped. And he has, I don't know how to pin his style. It's almost like paint-like. And this is one of my favorite pages. So this is like the exposition page, and it kind of gives you the requisite information. I never try to just tell the audience, and you can scroll down and you see he's drawing. He's explaining to a therapist essentially. Yeah. And Dean, I mean, oh my goodness, like I'm a big DNS fan, So the technical stuff, I will concede to DNS. A lot of the metaphors and stuff I actually came up with, like the snow globe. The snow globe was one of the things that I really enjoyed, and that's been a great motif for just like the necklace from Decay. I was like, oh yeah, this is an easy one-to-one to do. And and it's also like I think snow globes are just cool. Like, I don't know, they're interesting. Like what are they? Like they're very specific. I don't know.
Yeah. I totally get that. And it's funny because I love that you point that out, because I remember reading these pages for the first time, and I love these pages too, just even how they look and how it's kind of like there's a spotlight on the page, like almost like you using a flashlight going through like a police records room or something.
Yeah,
so it gives you that kind of feel. And then I love looking at these pages too, because I'm just like, what does this item mean? Like, they took the time to make this panel and put all these different items. So something has to connect to something. Something has to have more meaning than I think it does.
If you scroll down to the next page, that's a really attentive thing. And I remember you caught, I sent you a rough draft of Decay 2, and you caught a very significant what's it called, continuity error. And I was like, yeah.
I felt so bad, but I was just like, yeah, just let you know, I did notice this little thing. But that's the thing too, continuity is the hardest thing on the planet, I feel like, because you can be in the industry of comics or TV or film or whatever for 30 years and you still make continuity errors.
Yeah, no, but it was a rough draft, but I'm glad you pointed it out, because if I didn't notice it, and then like, oh man, if we went to print, oh my God. So thank you. And then okay, so this is one of my favorite pages, and as you said, there's like a spotlight, which I just noticed. It was just great, that's an amazing detail. It's a super subtle detail. So you can see that everybody has a face, except you can see down below his those are his foster parents, and he says that they're barely they just use him as a paycheck. They use him as a paycheck, so they don't have faces essentially, because he's drawing everything from memory, and then he doesn't remember what they look like.
Oh, that is a really good detail. I love that, because then it's so much less personal. That's fantastic. I think that's wow. I didn't even catch that one. See, there's still things I miss.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite little details, and even this style that he did. It's just like I'm just in awe of, like, because I'm like, do a more regress style, and he executed it like somebody. And no, I mean, he's incredible. He's an incredible artist. I feel very fortunate to have worked with him, and we got 5 more issues to go. Like it's super exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, so 5 more issues, so 6 issues total, I would guess. And this is going to be on Kickstarter soon, or is it a different platform you're using?
This is definitely Kickstarter. Yeah, it's definitely Kickstarter.
So yeah, what can we expect with the Kickstarter? Anything you can share about any specific rewards, or are you going to keep it more of a simple campaign? I know everybody runs theirs differently.
This looks right. So we got some images, and then I'm gonna show you some of these covers, which I'm really excited about. And coming up with the variant covers is also really cool, because you're not beholden to the style of the main comic book,
right?
So that's the main. I'm trying to zoom out here.
Yeah, those covers already look amazing. What you just sped through, I was like getting like House of Slaughter vibes and everything with that art. That's really
cool. That's a good one. Yeah, this is the big one. My friend 24x4 did this one. I think this is probably going to be the most popular one.
That one has very Sandman vibes to me. That one is that's really cool.
I think this might be with respect to everybody else that's on the cover, including DNS. I think this is the best cover. It's just and then you got the little reflection of the title in there, and then we got the version, because you got to upsell,
of course.
And this is another one that I really enjoy.
I love the colors on that, and that subtle like splitting of the face in the middle. That's really cool.
I like the textures here. Like it's phenomenal. I found some great artists, and then this one right here is a lot. It's a lot crazy. It's a lot going on. But I just love the coloring, and I love the I sent them like very vague images, and this is what they came up with. So I might use this design in like a future story. So that's cool. I feel like I got a 2 for 1, because this is a great creature design. To be honest,
yeah, the texture in the wings, like I can't even see it super close, just because it's a screen sharing, but I can tell there's a lot of texture in those wings. That takes a long time to do, I'm sure.
Yeah, no. So I'm trying this out, and then this is the black and white. This is the original artwork.
Nice. It's got like that what's that, like Boogie Oogie vibe from Nightmare Before Christmas? That's his name. I forget his name.
I think so. Yeah, so that's the yeah, no, that's the stop screen. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I'm trying so hard not to dox myself. But yeah, so I got a bunch of different covers, and I feel like that's the coolest thing about this particular campaign. I have like 5 different covers available.
Yeah. I think, variant covers are so big, and that's a whole other discussion itself, I feel like, in terms of the comic industry. Like, why are variants so popular? Are they great? Are they not? Like, I feel like that's such a common discussion. But I think more than anything, the best part about it is that, like you said, you're not beholden to the interior artwork of the actual comic, and you get so many different options of covers. So you don't even have to get all the covers. You just get more of a choice in what you want, which is nice in of itself.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not privy to. I'm new to comic book Twitter, so I'm not privy to like all the little. I feel like a lot of the same conversations kind of go through the cycle. So I'm not familiar with the variant one. I think variants. You could argue a variant could be a cash grab for like the big comics, but the indie comics, I would say no. I think that's just the best way to do it. To be honest, I only had I had 2 comics on Decay issue 3, 2 covers. And while it was a really good campaign, I can't help but think if I had 3 like my previous, then it would have done significantly better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something to consider. And I think, at the end of the day, people talk about cash grabs, but at the end of the day, you guys as creators are just trying to give us where we want. And
Hmm.
that just happens to translate to what we're paying for, but that's also what we want. So how could that be possibly a bad thing if that's what we want as your fans?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like I said, these are especially like you have some truthfully. It's also good for the artists. Like for instance, I got DNS because I was looking for variant cover artists, and then so because I worked with him 3 times, we did 3 different covers, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I like this guy. There's we're really working really well together, so it just made sense at that point to work together. So it's also a good way. It's like good at scouting and such like that. So it's just good for the ecosystem to have these. It's just good for the artists. It's good for everybody. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate having you on. I'm super duper excited for everybody to get the opportunity to get a hold of this issue for themselves because I mean the detail is all in the writing. It's just absolutely gorgeous, both with your writing and all that and DNS's art and the lettering. It's just all great. I mean, this page alone is also one of my favorites. Like it says so much without saying anything at all, really. So props to you both for just this page alone, but the entire issue, of course, being as gorgeous as it is.
Should have made this a print.
It
Maybe
would be a
next time.
really good print. It would be really freaking good. See? But see, you're getting these ideas so for the future.
Absolutely.
Well, is there anything else about intrusive thoughts that you wanted to cover that we didn't get a chance to cover?
No, it's great. Go buy it. We got 5 days.
5 days is coming up. I'll make sure to put the link in the description so you guys can easily just, click a couple times and support an indie comic that's really freaking awesome. So just click, have your information already in Kickstarter. You don't even have to think about it, guys. It's a no brainer. Get it. Tell us where we can find you. I know you're on Twitter. I don't know if there's any other website or anything you'd like to plug.
I'm on Twitter at Stokes the Writer, and then I just started a YouTube channel, Super Comic Bros. I'm really
Oh,
excited
nice.
about that. Yeah, so we're trying to get that. We're trying to make another platform for like indie comic creators because there's never enough platforms. So that's
Yeah.
also Super Comic Bros, one word.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I'll have to check it out as well. Make sure I subscribe myself because we always need, like you said, more platforms and ways for everybody to connect and just not even make a community, but just make friends, as you said earlier.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll have to have you on sometime.
Yeah, I love it. Love to crash the party with the crazy neighborhood energy. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Those you guys watching this later, be sure to check the links below. Check out Stokes. He's got a lot more coming, even after his 2.5 week break, which will be well deserved after this campaign. Campaigns are exhausting.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time in the nerdy neighborhood.